It's time for some time calculations. As I'm recording this, it's September 2019, and only 8 Star Wars episodes have come out. The next one is due in December, and let's say that you wanted to figure out just how long each one of the movies are. Now, you could go to IMDb and look them up one by one, but why would you do that when you could do an experiment with a spreadsheet? So let's say that you sat down to watch every single episode in preparation for the 9th one coming out, and you recorded a start and an end time. Using Excel, we can figure out what the total time is with a formula. One important note is that Excel stores time as a decimal or a fraction of a day. So, for example, if we come over here and type 0 and change that into the time format, it's going to put in midnight. If we wanted to do 0.5 or midway through the day, it's going to change it to noon. So time is stored, 0 being midnight, 0.99999 being 11:59, and everything in between is kind of calculated as a fraction of a day. So when we come over here, if we do a formula to subtract start time from the end time, just like that, Excel will think we want a time format, but if we change it to just a number, it gives us 0.09. What that means is this is 0.09 of a day. So in order to get a decimal of how long in hours this movie is, we would need to come into the formula and edit it slightly so that we're subtracting that amount, getting that 0.09, and then we're going to multiply it by 24 because there are 24 hours in a day. When we do that, we get 2.27 hours for the Phantom Menace. Then we can pull that down and get all of the times. Excel just automatically calculates it for each row, and we can calculate the total time, and again we'll change it to a number, and we've got 18.07 hours. Let's say you wanted to put this in a format that is a little easier to understand. We'll come over here to a new tab. This information is the same that we just saw, but we have a column for the hours and the minutes. We're going to splice out each number there to put it in hours and minutes, which is a little bit more familiar and how we're used to seeing time. So the number of hours is pretty simple. It's just whatever's to the left of the decimal place. We're going to use a function called int, which, as this screen tip says, rounds a number down to the nearest integer. What that means is it basically gives us whatever number is to the left of the decimal place. So in this example, we'll reference cell E2, and it will give us 2. To calculate minutes, what we need to do is take this 0.27 and multiply that by 60 minutes in order to get the number of minutes that it is. Remember, our formula here is showing that it's 2.27 hours. So we need to convert 0.27 of an hour into minutes. So the best way to isolate whatever is to the right of the decimal place, we're going to do a little formula here where we're going to take E2, so that 2.27, and we're just going to subtract the number of hours that we already calculated. And if we just press enter, that's going to give us that 0.27. And then, like I mentioned, we're going to have to multiply that by 60 to get the number of minutes. And we get 16 minutes. Now, I don't like to see the decimal places, and then we can pull that down as well. And we'll actually pull it down to this total line. So this is a little bit easier of a way to see how long a movie is. You can look at this one just intuitively. If it started at 8 and ended at 10:16, then yep, it's 2 hours and 16 minutes. You have to be kind of careful with formatting your information this way because, for example, if you just sum up all of these lines right here, it actually is 16 hours. So you can't really do a sum when your data is in this format. This is more just for information purposes only. the better way to handle time is to put it in a decimal format so that you can add and do other data manipulation. Let's go over one last thing. Let's say that you had to take some breaks while you were watching these movies, and you wanted to incorporate that somehow in the total time. What we're going to do here is we're just going to do what we did before to calculate the start and end time difference. Multiply that by 24, and we'll put it in a fraction right there. So that gives us the difference between the start and end time, but we also had a break in here for 10 minutes. So what we've got to do is subtract 10 minutes from that time. If we just subtract 10, that's the equivalent of 10 hours in this formula, right? It gives us a negative number. What we need to do is convert 10 minutes into a fraction of an hour. So if we divide that by 60, we get 2.27. And then we can hit that and we get the same answers as before. So obviously you're not going to be timing movies this way, but if you had a timesheet or something similar, you could incorporate these formulas and figure out how to track your time and add your time and all that great stuff. In the description, I've included a link to download this workbook, and in this workbook I've also included a tab that is kind of a mock timesheet where it has a start time and an end time and then converts it to time in decimal and then a time in hours and minutes. So feel free to go to that link and download this workbook, and you can play around with this timesheet and any of the other tabs that we've gone over. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to my channel to get videos like this whenever I post them. And until next time, go spreadsheet something awesome.